Hey y'all, it's your girl Jada Rayne, and welcome back to another episode of No BrewSh. Today we're talking about women in hip hop, and I'm really excited about this topic just because we see so many women flourishing in hip hop now, from your Rico Nasties to your Meghan Thee Stallions to Noname, and so I think it's just really exciting to see girls with different styles, different flavors, just kind of make their mark on the industry. And so today I have two wonderful guests here, and you know I'm going to make them introduce themselves, and so then after that we'll hop right in.
Hi, I'm Jayona. I'm an apparel merchandising major with a minor in entrepreneurship, and I'm a senior here at IU.
Hi, I'm Khaila. You guys probably seen me before, but I'm majoring in journalism. I'm also an artist that goes by the creative, so I guess that's all you need to know.
Follow her. She's got some great graphic design, so follow her, y'all.
Thank you.
But to kind of kick off the conversation, we're going to start light. What do you guys think about hip hop now? What does it kind of look like? What kind of sounds and music are people gravitating to? And, you know, why do you think that is? Just your general thoughts.
I can't speak for like what everybody else is like gravitating to, but I can only speak for myself.
Okay.
Personally, like I like to listen to a lot of female artists. That's just me and my personal choice. And I don't care if it's old, new, Like if it's older, I listen to Lil Kim, I listen to Foxy. Like I don't like have like a limit to how back I'll go. I listen to some Missy, and then new school, I listen to some people that are mainstream, like the Stallion. Sometimes I listen to a little bit of Cash Doll. Sometimes I don't have like, I'm not picky. And then I listen to, of course, my underground, my favorites. They're not really underground, but like Jungle Pussy. Y'all know I love her.
Malibu Mitch.
Malibu Mitch, yes. I like Dreezy. I like so many different people. And then I also love Baby Mother. Love her. So, yeah.
What about you?
My choice of music, it's really derived from a lot of older hip hop. I was like one of those toddlers that rode with my dad a lot, so you know I'm cussing and rapping to Biggie, E40, like so I still like that kind of music. Like I'm big on 80s hip hop. Like I still bump Dr. Dre, NWA, Tupac, Biggie. I also like new artists too as well, but I like more of the old vibe of hip hop, like more of like the soulful side of it, the more of the lyrical part of it. So like today's like hip hop where it's more like trap rap and more hype music versus like the more meaningful lyrics. I kind of like gravitate more towards older music because of that. And I listen to both men and women. A lot of the women I listen to are different. Like I love Meghan Thee Stallion, Cash Doll, don't get me wrong, but more so like your Sweeties, your City Girls. Like, yeah, I listen to y'all to get hype, but as far as just listening to you, like, I can't do it. I'm more of like a G Herbo. Seriously, more of like a G Herbo, Polo G, Roddy Ricch. Like, I'm more like so into that era for now.
Yeah. I think for me, I just appreciate it around the board. Like you said, I'm listening to a lot of female rap artists. But then like you said, I also like old school, and that comes from my dad, always playing that kind of stuff. Like I'm a huge Tupac fan, which every girl says that, but I really am. I really love his music. So I think I just have a love for both past and present. And I think sometimes it's hard because we tend to compare the two, and I think they're just in two different lanes of their own. One thing that I really appreciate about this generation, like you said, it is a lot of trap music, but one thing I really like is you see a lot of people being able to put themselves on in a way that they didn't used to. Like, you have people who are creating music on SoundCloud, YouTube, all these different platforms, and not needing a label and creating a fan base just independently, which I think is really cool to see them doing that. I mean, obviously the label ends up coming later down the line, but I think that's something unique about like hip hop now is people really like doing it themselves. So I think that's kind of cool. Why do you guys think that people are, I don't know, gravitate to trap music so much? Like, I don't know, what is it about trap music that just kind of hooks people in?
I think it's about the turn up. Like people just like to have a good time, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Because even if you listen to some older artists like Tupac and stuff like that, some of their songs was just like they're not rapping about anything like that's like super lyrical or super like deep. Sometimes in some of their songs is just lit. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like Hit 'Em Up is not like a deep track that you're thinking about. Like that's a whole that is a diss track, but like it's not like I'm not thinking about like getting free and black liberation and all of these things while I'm listening to that song. I'm like, turn it up, like I'm getting hype. And that same thing exists today. I don't think it ever stopped.
No.
And you still do have deeper artists today, like they still exist. Like you mentioned Noname earlier. I feel like her content is a little bit more like soulful, I guess you could say. But yeah, I think it's just like people like to have a good time, like, and especially like I feel like as Black people, like a lot of our life isn't always about our struggle.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We're people. We like to do regular things. Like, so I mean, we don't have to be like wrapped up in like our problems all the time. Sometimes we just want to exist and just be, you know?
Yes. Do you have something to add to that?
I was just gonna say, I also think it's sort of a trend now. Like it has been like for like the past decade, and even before that, like we can tell like back when the Yin Yang Twins and stuff was out, like Video Girls and all that, like hip hop changed from more so lyrical and stuff to being more about the hype, about having fun.
Yeah.
And not that anything's wrong with that, but we still need the mix. I think we're so stuck in each rapper that's coming out trying to have like their own personality, be the hypest one of them all, that they're all starting to fit in into the same barrel.
Yeah, they do.
So it's just like what really differs you from other. So now we have to look at lyrics to see who's good and who's not, because y'all ain't giving us much to work with. Y'all just hype.
Yep. And I feel like, and we'll kind of talk about this later too, but like specifically with women in hip hop, but I think just across the board, like allowing rap artists to have duality. I think that's why I point to Tupac a lot, because he's able to do, you know, the deep stuff, the stuff about liberation, the stuff that, you know, sends certain messages, but at the same time, he has that lit side. So I feel like sometimes, even now, we gotta allow artists to be able to have that as well. Like you were saying with Noname, I know she said she resents that people kind of put her sometimes in a different category as if she's kind of like higher than the girls that do a different type of music. So I think not being so quick to like pigeonhole people in like a specific, you need to make this kind of music. So I kind of want to go back to this like old school versus new school. Do you guys feel like there's differences with the way women were represented? You can go as old as you want or whatever era y'all want, but what differences do you guys see with women in hip hop, old school versus new school?
I think it's the same, but I think like because of technology's advancement, it might seem like it's different. Like it might seem like it's more in your face, but I feel like people think that like women are just now being sexualized or sex is selling a lot more, but in the reality, like there was like, I feel like a Lil Kim and a Foxy Brown is different than like a Lauryn Hill, you know? Yeah. So like, and we still have that today. Like you do have that same duality in different artists and stuff like that, and sometimes. And the music like reflects, like even like when I'm listening to Lil Kim and there's this one song she got where she says like, I don't want dick tonight, eat my pussy right. Like come on now. We've been talking about sex and music. Women have been like being like sexualized, and like even old music videos and photo shoots, like it's like not a new thing for sex to sell, like to me, but because we have access to a lot more social media technology, that might be like what's more popularized or like what's more presented to you or shoved into your face, but it's been a thing for a minute.
Oh yeah.
What I'm gonna add to that is like, yes, it's definitely a way to sell, but it's not the only way.
Yeah.
And then that's why we have like artists today, but I'm gonna go like way back to like when Queen Latifah was out.
Yeah.
Like Queen Latifah was not about that.
You know
who you calling a bitch?
Yeah.
She was like really for like female empowerment, and she expressed that through her music. And I believe there are also different type of rappers such as Da Brat, Lady of Rage, people who worked with Death Row Records who got their records simply for their talent. And they were raw, like they weren't really just sexualized. Like these men actually saw real talent in these women. So.
And I feel like, kind of to add to that, I'm glad you brought up Queen Latifah, because people forget she had a big audience. It wasn't like she wasn't popular at that time. So that's a good example. I think another good example is MC Lyte. When you think about Roughneck and you think about how she presented herself in this very tomboy-esque, not sexualized at all, and again, had her own audience, it was popular. So like you said, it's not always that sex sells. I mean, we know that it does, but there's other ways to sell yourself. And like you said, I mean, we're seeing that today. But I feel like, do you think that, because a lot of people will say someone taking, you know, control of their image and presenting themselves as hypersexualized is, you know, a form of empowerment. You guys agree with that? Or do you see that as being problematic in any way, presenting yourself?
I agree with it because I feel like it's like women reclaiming their bodies instead of like men telling us to like do this. It's like we're doing it ourselves. Like we're reclaiming our body, we're reclaiming our sexuality. Like I can present myself however I want, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because like Meghan Thee Stallion, one day you might see her like in like at that brunch with the little suit on,
Girl,
and the next and then the next day you might see her in some cut off booty shorts. Like, you know, like I can present myself whatever I want, and like. And another thing is like my music isn't my whole life, you know what I mean, type of thing. So we don't know how she acts outside of like what she presents to us as like her fan base and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I feel like to each his own. You know, I'm all for female empowerment. You know, all for, you know, taking control of how you express yourself. But you also gotta think that's how people are gonna view you at the same time. So you can't be mad that you're a sexual image when that's what you express yourself as. That's like the only thing I have to like argue with that, because like, yes, it's okay, like it's your body, do you, but you can't expect the same amount of respect that a Lauryn Hill would get because you're showing your body more than Lauryn Hill did.
I think that kind of goes into, oh, go ahead, you was going. I see your mouth, I said, so I said, say what you wanted to say.
Nah, I lost my thought now.
No, I'm sorry.
It's cool.
I think that kind of goes into like respectability politics, which I'm sure y'all are familiar with.
I think that's what the train was going.
Going to.
Yeah.
So we on the same wavelength. And for those of y'all who like may not know, I'm gonna break it down really, really simple because I feel like it's kind of a broad topic, so I don't want to like oversimplify it. But basically, just this concept, I feel like it's usually put upon Black women. I feel like it doesn't affect Black men as much. But just this idea that if you abide by certain, you know, standards that make you quote unquote respectable, then society or white society will see you in a different light, which is not always, which isn't the case. Because you have people who abide by respectability politics and are still victims of racism. But I think like in this context, it's hard because a lot of times it comes with like policing how Black women express themselves. And then that's an issue. Like, even if, you know, they may not be over-sexualizing themselves, are they still going to get over-sexualized because they're a Black woman? You know what I mean? So it's like, even if you are dressing a certain way or not dressing as sexually, I mean, still may be impacted by those stereotypes regardless, like, which is kind of like the hard part. And then I kind of struggle with, I don't know, I just feel like it limits, sometimes respectability politics limits Black women. It limits their self-expression a little bit to me and kind of, again, fits you into that you gotta be a certain box. Like, even when I look at Lauryn Hill, you know, people will place her in one box and one box only. What if she wanted to express her sexuality? You know what I mean? So, I don't know, that's my little soapbox, but
yeah, that's basically everything I was thinking is like, I feel like as women, we're trained to like, abide by the patriarchy in a sense. And then on top of that, Black women with our extensive history of like, you know, Jezebel stereotypes and all of that, it's just like, I'm like kind of happy to see Black women like breaking free of that and saying, I'm gonna do what I wanna do. And I'm gonna get my bag. And like, So I feel like I like to see that, and like, it's very empowering. And like, I don't necessarily think that a Lauryn Hill is better than like a Kim, or like or a Noname is better than like a Stallion. I see them all on the same plane expressing themselves freely, because that's what artists do.
Right. I think kind of to add to your point though, I get why it's hard, because like you said, you feel like you're playing into the very stereotype that's placed upon you. So that's where it becomes kind of tricky. Like, do you just ignore the stereotype altogether, or should these artists be cognizant? Should they understand that or be knowing of that? I don't know.
All I think is like, know that role and own it. Like, if that's what you're gonna do, own that.
I guess what I want to say is it important for them to know how it impacts like kids and younger people? Because you said own that. So should they be understanding that might impact, or?
I feel like that's more so a parent's role to control what your child music and listen to. Like, I think even people are trying to downplay Cardi and all kinds of stuff, saying her music isn't for kids. Like, no, it's not.
She never presented it to be that way.
Right. We ain't gonna play this at the Nickelodeon Awards.
Exactly. Like, pretty much.
If you bumping Cardi and your child hears it, that's on you.
That's true. And then how much though of that is on parents? Because like you said, you should be able to control it. But then too, with internet access, these
Yeah,
kids is able to find shit on their own. Like, I get what you're saying.
swear.
It's not really their place to be.
Yeah, it's not the artist's like responsibility to change their personality to fit a market they're not going towards.
No, it's not their responsibility at all. They're not your babysitter. Like,
Right, right. How do we? One question I have, because I was thinking about this earlier when I said we were going to talk about this, was do we feel like men are supportive of women in hip hop today, and what the support looks like? It's a hard question because I was really thinking about that, and I was like, I mean, I guess it's like, how would you define support?
yeah, I don't know.
Like, is a feature support, putting them on your record? Is that support? Is it because they hot right now?
You mean like men as in other male artists?
Yes.
I don't know. Like, there was like this huge thing where I think it was Jermaine Dupri, and he said like all these women sound the same or something like that. They all rap. That made me so angry because all these niggas sound the same and they look the same and they breathe the same.
I can't tell them apart.
It's like they making them in a factory, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it just made me so upset because it's just like, you know, I feel like there's a lot of critique on women in hip hop. Like, we overly critique black women and like the way they're expressing themselves, and like, are we not going to keep that same energy for men?
Right.
And like, so it's like there's Jermaine Dupri's out here that are not supportive, but I don't know who. I can't really say that I've openly seen somebody. There are some men that have been supportive, but I can't think.
It's not an open way.
Yeah, it's not like a whole bunch. And then I don't know if that's like a men thing, like if you, because dudes like have this weird thing where they want to appease to other men in a sense, like they want to be a part of the boys club type of thing. So maybe they won't speak up. It's like a silencing effect. Like they don't want to speak up and be like, hey, like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. You don't see a lot of it that's like, or a lot of it that gets attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of male support for female rappers. I feel like there's just a big, I'm losing words. There's a big expectation for female rappers versus male rappers, I feel like, when it comes to how male artists view female artists.
Yep.
Like, in order for them to catch your attention, like, you not only have to be bad, you not only have to be this, that, you gotta have the lyrics, you gotta have the presence, you gotta have a whole list of items for them to even look twice your way.
Yeah.
So to gain even support of a big crowd of male artists, it's gonna be hard in the industry. I think Chicago rappers like really are like the best supporters of that. Mm-hmm. Like you may know rappers like Dreezy, and I know she's
really
very
Dreezy.
supported in the Chicago community. Mm-hmm. So just artists such as that, like I believe like males have like made it to where like women aren't really supported by other male artists based on like that brotherhood that they have. I guess, that pushes them out.
Yeah, I feel that. That's kind of what I was gonna say. It's just I don't know if I visibly see the support.
Yeah.
Like you said, like if you're on a song with them, I don't know if that really like constitutes as I'm supporting you, especially when it comes to criticism that they may get. I don't really see nobody stepping in a line of fire for them. You know what I mean? Which I guess is that their duty? No, but you know, I don't really see that going on. Are you guys familiar with hip hop feminism?
A little bit.
A little bit.
I remember back in one of my classes, Black Women in Diaspora.
Yeah, I was in that boy too.
We talked a little bit.
Who? Candace?
With Candace.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm mad we all know.
Professor Smith.
Yeah. Well, shout out to her.
Right.
I'll give a little bit. So, I'm going to shout out this book because I have it. So, When Chicken Heads Come to Roost, it's by Joan Morgan. If you haven't read it, it's a really good book to read. Joan Morgan coined the term in, 1999? If I got the year wrong, don't nobody get mad at me. But she coined the term. It's basically, I thought it was really interesting because it talks about women in hip hop, but it also talks about, as we know, like traditional feminism is like for white women.
Yeah.
And then, we have black feminist thought and movements, but a lot of times, like the everyday woman may not quite see themselves in those movements. And so Joan Morgan kind of like adds this conversation of creating feminism for the everyday woman, but like she's talking about it from a hip hop stance. So she's like, well, as a fan of hip hop and as a woman, I can still critique the misogyny in it, but I also can still enjoy it, rather than just saying hip hop is misogynistic, I can't listen to it, which sometimes can be included in like the black feminist thought discourse, not all the time, but So I thought that was kind of interesting. And so I kind of want to ask you guys, do you guys think that female rappers themselves are bringing about like their own type of feminism at all?
I feel like they are in terms of like reclaiming your body and stuff like that. But I feel like that's been going on for a while, like since like the older artists, and like, cause you know, like Unity, like I think even like who you calling a bitch, like that in a sense is hip hop feminism. Yeah. So yeah, I think like new wave artists are doing that. Yeah. In a lot of different ways.
I think another way that is popular, and it's always been popular since Lil' Kim, but male exploitation. I'm like, it's coming more and more reoccurring in music today, especially Meghan Thee Stallion. Yeah. You know, I bump. Okay. Yeah. It's like, yes, like if men can talk about how much black women and women in general are exploited, we're bitches, we're all this, we about to flip that around.
Yeah. Like turning the tables.
Yeah, so I definitely feel like that's a part of feminism in a way.
I agree. One question I kind of wanted to ask, because we said something about female unity. So when you look back kind of in history, you remember that song, Ladies Night? And it had Lisa Left Eye on there. It had Lil' Kim on there. It had a bunch of other female rappers. Do we see the same kind of unity today amongst female rappers, you guys think?
I think we kind of do. But I feel like I've seen it the most. We've said Meg Thee Stallion with a lot. But honestly, with like the boat and everything, I was like, dang, so-and-so with a boat too. Like when she did that whole thing, I'm like, they all interact with each other. Like I've seen her like talk to Rico and stuff like that in Malibu, and like I don't know, it just like they seem like they're all in it together more so. Like, or maybe it's just because there's more video documentation, we have social media, like, you know what I mean? I
like that they don't publicly either like say stuff about each other, like with that stuff that happened with Rico, because they didn't put her on that Birds of Prey soundtrack, and they put Sweetie, and I like that she didn't publicly try to come out and say anything and start no mess on social media, you know what I mean? Because I see that a lot, like women getting pitted against each other. Was there anything you were
I was just gonna add to that. Media is very like detrimental to unity in the black hip hop community. I feel like we like pin rappers against each other. Yeah. We all know the Nicki versus Cardi, but also like with like even local rappers and stuff, they try to like pin them against each other. Yeah. So we don't really get as many female features as men do in the industry. Yeah. So I think that's something that should definitely be changing.
Do you feel like fans sometimes tend to pit women against each other, or is it just more so the industry in general?
Yeah, I think fans contribute a lot to it, because like, you like you said, the Nicki and the Cardi thing, I feel like that was all fans. like, and it's because like people want to see that drama, especially with women for some reason. Like, but I think that's like, of course, like a society issue. Like that's a societal problem of us, like the social conditioning and how we view women and stuff like that. So everybody just waiting for the next cat fight type of thing. Yeah. But they don't do that. They don't necessarily do that with men, like in the industry. Like, of course, people love drama, so a good diss track is here and there, but they don't blow it out of proportion. Like with this, they don't have that same energy, and they don't build up these narratives like as hard as they do with women. You know?
And I think there's such a thing as having like, you can diss and be friendly about it, I guess. I mean,
diss and be friendly.
I mean, I feel like that's where you should put the focus in the music. Yeah. But then I feel like it kind of, obviously, as we've seen with several other instances, like it bleeds over into the rest of life instead of just staying where the music is at. Another thing I want to talk about, do we feel like women within hip hop, their influence and what they brought to the table? Because I feel like a lot of times, so I'm gonna use Nicki as an example. When we think about her influence, a lot of people only think about her influence in terms of how she's impacted women rappers solely and only, not how she may have impacted hip hop, as a whole. Yeah. So I've seen that a lot. I mean, do you guys feel like, what do you guys feel about that? Just like women, their influence and impact being taken away from hip-hop.
I think they like get discredited a lot, like what you said with Nicki. Like people always like say like, if people say, they don't say great rapper, they say great female rapper. They have to tack that on. They have to put us in a separate category. But Nicki's a beast, like, and she changed the game in so many different ways, so that even artists now that are male or female, they can get streams. Like streams count as like towards their like success, like, and stuff like that. Like she changed the game in so many different ways. But like, I feel like people discredit her a lot and like the contribution she's made of course, because she's a woman and
Yeah.
she's a black woman, and like,
Yeah.
so that's just the whole phenomenon there.
Yeah.
Seriously. I definitely believe Nicki paved the way for a lot of female artists today. And as much as you may not like her personally, you may not like where she come from, what she believes in, y'all have to give her credit for what she's done in the industry. Because like Wayne brought her on, and like in like 2010, she like took off after a Massive Attack video. Yeah. And like she brought out that sexuality and all that. Like Trina tried like in the thousands, but she wasn't as big as Nicki. Like Nicki was global, and she is discredited for that in today's world because, like Cardi and them, like she's been in the industry 10 years, and she's just retiring. Like her career had her career had a whole plot, climax, fall, whatever. Like, but it lasted so long, and she's accomplished so much within these 10 years that you have to give her credit. Yeah. She was winning every BET award for Best Female Artist because no one else was in the industry. Yeah. And how they tried to like come in and discredit her, like she didn't have all that, it was kind of wrong, I feel like.
I think two things I want to kind of talk about what you said is like you said if you don't like her personally, which I think I'm glad that you brought that up because I feel like we always hold her feet to the fire about what she does personally. I mean, people are human at the end of the day. I'm not making excuses for one thing or the other, but people are human. But we don't do that with male artists, even the ones that we love so much that, you know, considered legends. I mean, look at Biggie and some of the things in his past, and we don't hold his feet to the fire the same way we would a Nicki Minaj, and even artists today. You know, they do some kind of shady shit, and that are men, and then we don't say, well, for some reason we can separate them personally from what they do in their personal life in the music, but for some reason we can't seem to do that with Nicki, which I find interesting.
Yeah, I see that a lot. Like, people forgave Kanye West so quick.
Yes.
As soon as he started a black church. And I was like, did y'all not forget this man had a Trump hat on like a week ago? And he was talking about slavery was a choice. I'm looking like, did y'all are we senile? Like, I understand, like, why you do not, like...
And then blamed it on, and I'm not minimizing mental health by any means, but, you know, allowed it to be a mental health issue for him. But, I mean, I've been thinking about some of the criticism Nicki Minaj been going through. That'd take a toll on my mental health.
They, like, forget that they're people at the end of the day.
Yeah, I couldn't be famous. I would turn off my comment section.
Seriously.
Period.
But I also think it's important, too, to give credit to, you know, women before them. Like, I even feel like sometimes the impact of Missy Elliott isn't even remembered. Like, we always mention, like, a Little Kim, but Missy did a lot for the industry. I seen she had a tribute. I forgot what show. They did a tribute for her, which I thought was great. And then it was like a big rapper said that she was his inspiration. Who was that? I can't remember, but it was a male rapper. And I thought that was so cool because you see that she not only influenced women, but she definitely influenced men. So yeah, I don't know, are there any other artists that you guys can think of, women that have like kind of influenced both, or, you know?
That's a good question.
I feel like
Missy is like a great example.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I'll go back and listen to her music, and like, I don't know, music is like watching movies in a sense. Like, you'll rewatch a movie and you'll hear something that you didn't really recognize before, or you see something. And I feel like when I listen to Missy's music, every time I listen to it, I hear another bar that I didn't necessarily pay attention to before. Like, did she really just like, I feel like she's a really good one. And not even like with just the music, but the visual aesthetic and like music videos and stuff like that, and like her creativity, endless. Like, it doesn't stop with the music. And I definitely think that she's inspired a lot of people today. I'm trying to think of like new artists that are like inspiring both male and female. Like,
and I feel like they all have. But
they all have in their own way.
Yeah.
I feel like there's not really an artist. Like Missy Elliott, like she did a lot for both men and women. But just speaking of like today's rappers, I don't feel like there's really an artist that both men and women listen to. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of the female artists today, they target women, which nothing is wrong with that. Mm-hmm. But I honestly feel like there's like no showstopper. There's no like queen in the industry right now because like you have to target like a big audience. Like we can listen to male artists, how women can listen to male artists and men can listen to male artists, but that's not really the same for female artists. Like,
that's true.
Yeah.
What men do you know out here bumping? Well, What like masculine straight men are you like knowing that are listening to Megan Thee Stallion and stuff?
That's a good point. I mean, that's a really good point because now that you say it like that, I do feel like the hip hop listening community is kind of divided in that sense. So I mean, I feel like the only time you might see a bit of a crossover is like a feature.
Yeah.
Like when you think of Cash shit, the baby on there.
Yeah.
So I guess then dudes are like,
Then dudes will listen to it.
I'm gonna listen to it.
But I think that's like a fragile masculinity issue with men. Like they feel like they can't listen to that music because it would be seen feminine on their part, and that's their problem. Like if you don't listen to this good music, then that's on you.
Which is interesting because we'll listen to like the baby or a male rapper who's talking about a woman in their lyrics, but we'll still listen to it. We'll still bump it. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of to feed into. Do you guys ever find it difficult to be a woman who is, understanding of how black women are treated and being a fan of hip hop? Do you ever just see like, I don't know, some contradictions there or I don't know? Because we were talking about earlier, with black feminist thought, like a bell hooks or something like that, how somebody might view hip hop in that way. Do you guys ever, I don't know, see friction within yourself about being a fan of hip hop, but also being understanding about how sometimes it treats women of color?
I was like thinking about this the other day, like, cause I'm taking a hip hop class right now that's like about the history of hip hop and stuff like that.
With
Fernando,
Fernando.
yeah. I'm taking that right now, and I was thinking about it, and like, it's like you would think about like older, like there's black women like Roxanne, like there's like a long extended history of women being like a part of hip hop. So I'm like starting to think is like hip hop sexist or is society sexist, and like we like because and that bleeds into hip hop. You know what I mean? So that's a whole thing that I'm thinking like, is this really a hip hop issue or is this a societal issue? And I think it's a societal issue. That's what I've been thinking a lot. Like there's a bigger problem like here at large, like, and it has seeped into something that is like very unique to our culture, very like sacred to our culture as black people. So like I think the misogyny exists outside of it and bleeds into it kind of thing. And I don't listen to a lot of male artists, so I don't have necessarily a battle. Because like you mentioned before, like some people will bump the baby and stuff like that. I don't listen to the baby. And to be honest, a lot of his songs start sounding alike after a while.
Girl, yeah.
So like,
we done heard the same song about 10 times.
So I'm like, I don't necessarily listen to that, so I don't have like a battle, but I guess like some people could like I could see that being a thing.
What about you?
I kind of feel like a hypocrite because I do listen to a lot of male artists, like, mainly male artists, and I mean it's kind of hard because I'll go through the lyrics. Of course, I'm a rapper or whatever, but I don't tie them to myself. Like it's hard, like tying these lyrics to my own identity. Like, yeah, they talking about bitches and stuff, and I'm like, that ain't me. Like. Like, and it's sad because, like, we choose to ignore that kind of stuff in music, but at the end of the day, it's what sells.
Yeah.
Like, and it's kind of sad because, like, it's what sells.
Yeah.
So it's, like, accept it.
Yeah. I kind of like I said on here before, like, I don't put the artist on a pedestal, so I guess I don't feel certain friction just because I feel like if that's how they choose to express themselves, that's how they choose to express themselves. Like, we can't just... Whether or not I listen to it is a personal choice, you know what I mean? But I don't know, I have a hard time feeling like we have to police what people say when it is an art form, whether you like what they're saying or you don't like what they're saying. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. I do kind of feel a little bit of personal friction because I advocate for black women, but at the same time, when I see the way that they're treated, in the industry, behind the scenes, but then also in music, it's just kind of, I don't know. It is difficult.
It's a battle. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I guess I just see it for what it is. Like, it's an art form, and you're going to have, just like with anything, you're going to have different opinions, you're going to have different approaches to things. And I feel like if you don't like content from a certain artist, then, like you said, you're just going to have to be a lot more selective about who you listen to. If that means only listening to female rappers or only listening to what we deem as, like, conscious rappers, then, then that's what that is. We were talking a lot about women getting their accolades and like having agency over their their sexuality. And a lot of people have this debate about Biggie and the way he was so instrumental in Lil' Kim's career. And how do I want to word this question? a lot of times people will say, was the sexuality a product of her own wanting? Because she was young at that time, or was, you know, a product of this image he kind of created for her?
Yeah.
So do you guys feel like if a man has any type of influence in how the sexuality is being presented, does that change? Because I know you said it's empowering, so does that change how you feel about it?
I feel like the difference between Lil Kim's situation and like the future things, it's a personal choice today, like to the way they present themselves, and then back then it was not necessarily sometimes a personal choice for them.
Yeah.
So I feel like, yes, of course it like changes a lot of things if a man was behind it, because it wasn't her personal choice. Because like, what if Lil Kim didn't want to like talk about the things that she talked about in her music, or present herself as a sex symbol type of thing? So that's like a part of like her own like being oppressed in a certain way. But today we're like reclaiming that back, so that's kind of different. Like, it's a personal choice, so I can present myself however I want, whenever I want to, type of thing. Yeah. And you never know, like years from now we might see rappers like Queen Key or like Cash Doll or Meghan Thee Stallion. They might not be talking about the same things they're talking about. Like, they have room to grow and to change. They can change their sound whenever they feel like it. Like, it doesn't have to be like sex all the time. You know what I mean? So
you gotta let artists evolve.
Yeah,
that's just a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like I'm a big fan of Biggie. I saw Notorious.
Yeah, me too.
I'm like,
you got the shirt on.
I'll say I saw the movie and stuff, but I also read up a little bit on Lil Kim, and she had like a very rough childhood.
Yeah, she did. Like, her life is sad.
Yeah, and I feel like Biggie exploited her. Like, I feel like he took her story and sort of ran with it and like made her like make herself like who she's known for. But at the end of the day, she was exploited because he took like her trauma as a child and like flipped it around and made it to this sex symbol that she became. So in a sense, it's sad because like she was exploited, but it's so.
And Hardcore came out when she was like I think she was 15 or 16. I can't remember the exact age, but in that age group. And then they said she also struggled with, you know, feeling like she was beautiful, which is really interesting, having been exploited in that way and, you know, being pushed as a sex symbol, and you don't even really, you know, feel that way about yourself. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I think it's also interesting that, you know, of course, yes, he was a part of her career, and you know that she loved him, but I also hate that people like tie her legacy to his. That bothers me. Like, I feel like she has her own legacy of her own, so why are we always tying it in with Big? You know what I mean? Like, they're still two separate artists and two separate people. I mean, he's obviously was influential in her career, but I mean, I think Nicki Minaj has kind of moved away from that. Like, I don't feel like people tie her legacy as much with Lil Wayne anymore.
No.
So I don't know why we tend to do that.
No, with her.
Yeah, I think that's weird. So 2 more questions. The first one being, where do you guys feel like we've gotten to a place where hip hop is in a good place with women and female artists? And if not, where would you like to see, like, what is your idea of like the perfect hip hop world? I know that's like a big question.
I'm thinking,
I feel like we still have work to do.
Yeah.
To be honest, we're in an era right now, and I feel like we should definitely like appreciate the era we're going through with women like taking their bodies and empowering them, and in their music, how we got the male trash talk now. Like, I definitely believe like we're in an era right now, but it's going to progress. And I feel like when we have more lyricism tied into music and stuff, that more appreciation is going to come for it, because like, yes, the sex symbols and stuff in industry, it's popping right now, but it's not always going to be. Like, eventually we're going to find another trend, and it's going to be a new era.
Yeah, and I think lyricism is important to longevity in the rap game over time. I would just like to see, same thing you said, like, I just want to see more lyricism across the board, not just, at least in the mainstream sense, not just underground artists not as popular, and not just expecting that out of women. I want to see more men with better lyricism as well. And not saying that they don't have it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I just don't know where hip hop
Like,
is gonna go.
I'm in my own.
Like, I'm gonna just continue to listen to what I listen to as a whole, like mainstream. I don't see I personally don't see it getting any better because whenever a corporation's involved, like you do have a lot of black artists, but who is behind the scenes? These big ass corporations, not us. So like in reality, I would like to see like maybe like things will get better. Like maybe no. I just don't. It's like not really like I don't know. Maybe I'm a pessimist. Like I'm not being optimistic, but like realistically, like whenever there's money and power involved, and we are like at the lower part of it, like it's just not. I'm gonna just continue to listen to what I listen to at this point because it's a lot of work to do, but like, are we gonna do it? Is the real question. Is it gonna happen for us? Like.
Well, it's
I don't
really
know.
what the consumer wants.
Yeah, it is what the consumer wants, and people are demanding certain things, and they have been for a long time, which is why we're in the direction we are now. So, like,
and I don't think that's pessimistic for you to say. It's true. I feel like commercialism definitely ruined hip hop in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, the introduction of that, and then it becomes about winning awards, and it becomes about how much money you make. Whereas before, you know, when you think of like the roots of hip hop, and you think about the four categories, you think of graffiti, breakdancing, you think of DJing, MC, and how pure it was. It was just about having a good time. I mean, it wasn't always necessarily lyric based, but you know, I think we kind of, to a degree, we still have that with like the turn up thing that you guys brought up. But I definitely feel like once you started bringing in commercialism, it just
and people don't care about the art form anymore. People just make music because they want money and attention. Like Blueface can't rap to save his life. I don't even know. I don't know if it's his life passion or not, but it don't seem like it. It just seems like I want attention, like I want clout, like so. It's just not necessarily like I care about this as an art form. Like there's people that like they writing and they like in their daily day-to-day lives, and they like thinking like they hear music and like they care about it, like it's their passion, talent. They love it, like you know what I mean. And there's people that just like I want money, I want attention, I'm a rap off beat. Oh, I don't know if he's doing that on purpose or not.
Girl, I think,
but at this point it has to be on purpose because I don't understand
when
it.
I first heard him for the first time, and I was like, bro, he ain't never gonna blow up. Like what? He ain't
but
even
he
beat.
did.
He did. Now we started because I was working at Power at the time, and they started like putting his shit on heavy rotation. I was like, what?
Is this a joke?
Like we're really doing this? But yeah.
One song.
You like one song.
Shot of Flow, y'all never heard that?
I heard it, but I just can't get
I don't know what
into
song
it.
that is. I'm gonna be honest.
Keep me a rap like I'm 10. Okay.
But let's be real. Like you would listen to you would not listen to like a whole
Blueface
album.
No.
Well, I wouldn't personally. If you do, that's on
you.
I would not. Hell no. There's no way.
Is there any like last minute thoughts that y'all want to add before we wrap it up?
I would like to see more Meghan Thee Stallion types come in the industry. Yeah. Like for me, I feel like she has great lyricism.
She does.
Like she's raw
and can freestyle.
Yeah, like the more of those we get into the industry, or the more like light a lot of these underground rappers get, I feel like we'll have that industry that we want. Like it won't just be Saweeties and Cash Dolls and whatever out in the industry. It'll be so much more. And again, the more unity we have, like I feel like the female hip hop industry will rise.
I think for me, I would like to see women in hip hop play around with duality even a little more. Not to say some of them aren't, but to play with it a little more. Like I'm really excited. I know we keep saying Megan, but we love Megan, so come on. But not only is she talented, but I'm excited for this album because I know she said she's trying to bring something different type of stories and themes, and you know, I want to see some of these rap girls kind of play around with different types of topics. So that's something that would be exciting for me to see. Not to say they can't stick with their core, you know what I mean, but play around with different types of things.
I would like to see them play with different sounds.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I would like to see. Like, the one thing I love about Rico Nasty is, like, I feel like she's a trap star. Like, she's a rock star. And, I love that she plays with different sounds, like rock and stuff like that.
And Doja does, too.
Yeah. So I would like to see, like, more different genres being mixed up. Because, like, even with Nelly and, like, the country sound, like, the country South, like, rap, like, I would like to see a woman do that, too. Like, I want to see this. Like, I want to see us, like, dip into these different categories. And
I think Megan kind of does that sometimes with kind of like playing around with that chopped and screwed sound that's like Houston is known for. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see what they do in the future, but we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank my lovely guests for coming again because it was a good conversation and I love talking about hip hop, so you know. But stay tuned for the next episode. It's going to be, I don't know which one's going to come out first. I haven't decided, y'all. But I'll have that out for you. And I want to thank you guys for joining us. And I will see you on the next episode. Bye.